I'll
Oh,
talk about Paul Skeens.
okay, let's go.
Debut.
Hello and
I'll talk
welcome to
about the
Sutton
draft.
Impact Family Style. We already started. Let's go.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I think you said go. A little behind the scenes for you. We'll leave that in. So welcome to Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill. And it's been a really interesting turn of events in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah,
I think I for sure had. I didn't see anything out of Denver. Minnesota looked so good for 2 games, and now I probably am going to lean toward Denver. I don't want to be wishy-washy, but I don't know if Minnesota can turn it around to get back to where they were. No, I think that Ant-Man can, but I'm not so sure the rest of that squad can.
no, and especially not four-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert, who does not look like Defensive Player of the Year most of the time in the playoffs, as other people have pointed out. Right?
It's a bad matchup between him and Joker.
It is.
Joker's just way too physical for Rudy.
It really is. And I mean, it's a different beast. And then when Jamal Murray plays like Jamal Murray is capable of playing, like he has in Game 3 and Game 4, it's a completely different Denver team. Jokic is always going to be close to a triple double almost every time he steps on the court, which he didn't look as Jokic dominant in games 1 and 2, but he was still really. I mean, you look at his stat sheet; he still stuffed the stat sheet. Whereas Murray was terrible in game 1 and 2, and he was awesome in these last 2 games.
Yeah,
And Carl Anthony
including a
Towns, yeah,
back-breaking halftime shot.
yeah, that was because it was a 9 point lead that became a 15 point lead in 8 seconds, which
Yeah,
is just it's that's tough to come back from, right?
it is. I mean, I think they got to within 10 a couple times in the second half, but that's as close as they got.
Yeah. In Denver, surprisingly on the road, their bench looked pretty good with Holiday and a few other guys, and then Aaron Gordon was phenomenal in Game 4. I think he shot like 89%, and granted, a lot of those were bunnies, and I really enjoyed Shaq and Kenny breaking it down, which was basically, you know, people knock Carl Anthony Towns a lot because of his perceived lackadaisical on the court, and he would have Gordon underneath the basket, and he would go to double team Jokic, and Jokic would just toss the ball to Aaron Gordon, who would dunk it. And Shaq and Kenny and Charles were all screaming like, "You cannot leave your man, no matter who's." He's like, especially if it's Jokic, a great passer, but you never leave your guy alone down there because it's always an easy pass for an NBA player. And he did it over and over again, and that seems like something Cat, you know, I know he won like some sort of humanitarian award from the NBA this year, and he seems like a good dude. But on the court, he just seems like a liability half the time, for as talented as he is.
Yeah,
And it's at the very least, it's nice to see this become a real series and the Nuggets respond, because I think for a player that never does anything bad on or off the court, and a player that everybody claims to respect, it feels like a lot of people root against Jokic in a weird way, you know?
yeah. Hmm.
And I don't know if it's xenophobia or that he's, not the. What's the best way to put it? He's a good athlete, but he's not the most athletic looking player. But he's beautiful to
Yeah,
watch, so. But it's not just Gilbert Arenas. It feels like there's just a bunch of people that the second the Nuggets start going well, they just go down. They're like, he and Magic are the only two people that have ever got swept with the year they won MVP, and he shouldn't have three. And they're just chomping at the bit, no matter how great he plays. They want him to do what poorly, which is just weird to me. I think that's why I'm rooting for the Nuggets to
okay.
shut those people up. And Ant's gonna have his moment. He's 22 years old, right? He's
Yes, he
averaging
is.
30 something in the playoffs, and he looks phenomenal. Um, and the only thing I haven't liked that he's done, I didn't like his. I'm a better 3 point shooter because I think the 3 point shooting in Jordan's era it wasn't really relevant. You know, take the compliment, Ant.
Not as relevant as it is right now. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a huge part of this, much bigger part of the game now than it was then.
and I am positive, 100% positive, Jordan would be a great 3 point shooter if he played today. He just would.
Yeah,
Not
I agree.
not Steph Curry, but he would be as good as Ant or any other these other guys at 3 point shooting. It just wasn't part of the game back then. So, and if you're getting compared to Jordan, LeBron, just say thank you, and I hope to live up to their greatness someday. I think is the way to go.
Well, that's wise advice. The other series that's stymied me is, Oklahoma City looks totally inept now against Dallas defense.
Yeah.
Dallas defense is pushing them out away from the hoop. They're not getting clear passing lanes. They're not able to get the ball inside. They just look really discombobulated. I mean, they look like a very young team right now. And I'd have to say that Dallas, because of the veterans, because of the experience, I don't know. I just don't see, unless Game 5 is drastically different. I just don't see Oklahoma. The last two games, Oklahoma City has not had an answer for Dallas.
No. And that's a Dallas defense.
Dirk is banged up and still playing out of his mind.
And Kyrie is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Kyrie that, when you hear players talk about the most skilled player in the NBA, and I think as fans, you've been frustrated with, on the court, off the court, on the court, off the court Kyrie stuff and wanting trades and not wanting trades. But since he's gotten to Dallas, he's been he's been really good. I don't know what else to say. I mean, because like you said, Luka's banged up, and Luka does not look quite like Luka offensively. But it hasn't mattered. And like you said, the defense, that's a defense that oftentimes has Luka and Kyrie out there, and they're still shutting down Oklahoma City.
And I've been impressed with Luka on defense. He anticipates passes as well as anybody I've seen.
He does.
He's made a major steal in both of the last two games to turn the tide.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed.
I think if I was Sam Presti, knowing what was out there this year, I don't think he made a mistake by not making a trade. Like, the chemistry on this team is like we've talked about on the podcast. Like, it's almost unheard of how much this team seems to like each other, right?
Right.
But when you watch in these playoffs, like, Giddey really can't play in the playoffs. And I don't know if he's ever.
That's been a large subject of discussion.
And I don't know if he's ever going to be able to play in the. Like, I don't think he's that guy. And as good as Chet is, Chet doesn't have a lot. He's the only size they have. So I mean, but again, it's a very young team, and I think with a bazillion draft picks, they're going to make some moves. But I think you're seeing some holes in them that just would prevent them from being a championship team.
At this young date, yeah, I agree.
And then in a series that completely flipped, the Knicks were up 2-0, and now it's 2-2, and the Knicks are they're just beat up.
That's all you can say. I mean, I think the Knicks are a better team, but they're not healthy.
No, and you traded for OG, yeah, who's really good, but he's got a history of being injured. He's missed 2 games in the series now. You gave up a bunch of pieces in that. You lost Julius Randle. You were already a very thin team. And now, Brunson's a little banged up. OG's banged up. Mitchell Robinson's not playing. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, we'll see what happens. Game 5's in New York. We'll see what happens. But the last 2 games, they're playing on fumes. They're playing guys that they don't normally play.
Yeah.
For minutes that they normally would not have to give them. So.
And then Indiana, Halliburton is looking like the Halliburton that was an all-star again. And
yes.
When they put Nesmith on Brunson, he's just a better athlete on defense. He's a bit more size, and he makes Brunson work a little bit harder. And Brunson already has to work overtime to get shots. So they made some adjustments, and I assume the Pacers end up winning that series, right?
I would assume. I don't think the Knicks have enough to go to get the 7 games. I just don't see it.
No.
But, I've been wrong so many times on this, so I don't know what to say.
And then in the least fun series, I guess, Boston-Cleveland?
Boston-Cleveland, and I mean, Boston had their totally mind fart game.
Yeah.
Now they got that past them, so what is it, 2-1 right now?
2-1.
2-1. I could see this one as a 4-1. 4-2 is the very, very best scenario for the Cavs.
Yeah, and you know, it's just not a good matchup for them. I don't think. And the Cavs are going to have to do
No,
some figuring things out when they get in the off season.
yeah.
And I don't
I
know what.
mean, amazing matchups in the other three. It's a shame the Knicks are hurting. I don't see anybody stopping. We said all along Boston would win the East.
Yeah.
Now, Minnesota was my dark horse to win the West. I think now, a Dallas-Denver series might put Denver back into the finals again.
Yeah, I think we could have yeah. That's. I think if you told me to bet money on something or bet my house, those would be the teams I would pick. It just, you know, and I think I would probably pick, if Minnesota came back and won this series, I'd pick them to end up in the finals too. And like we talked about last week, Boston put up some pretty historic numbers as far as some of the analytics go this year and their win percentage and their margin of victory that, almost every team that put that up has won the championship. So we'll have to see how that would play out, though.
Yeah.
But I think now we got to talk baseball, right? Because we had actual Pirate news.
We actually had Paul Skeens making his debut for the Pirates, and he looked awesome. He threw 17 pitches over 100 miles an hour, struck out the first two guys in the game, and then the bullpen guy came in, blew the game, but the Pirates still ended up winning down the road. But Paul Skeens is the real deal. This guy's special.
And Paul Skeens' girlfriend,
very special,
Livy Duvey, who has Livy Dunn, who has a bazillion followers on Instagram and Facebook and everything else. I mean, this could be a real moment for the Pirates if they can get it together.
And they were already making the Taylor Travis comparisons.
Yeah. I mean,
she was there. They interviewed her. She had a custom pirate jacket on with number 30 on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is something they need to just embrace and make it work as best they. I don't know how they can, what they can do, but, because LSU didn't they win the championship? Wasn't she part of the championship gymnastics team this year?
Yeah, gymnastics team won the championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean, this is a high-profile couple.
Yeah.
The number one pick in the draft and a national champion gymnast that's very attractive and very adept at marketing herself.
Yeah. And it's nice to see him, because baseball, we don't often see the number one pick come in and play his rookie year, right? Let alone,
Not very often at all.
And certainly not before August or late July, where you come up and get a couple of, late season starts. Like, he's come in and he looks good. It's really good. It's nice to see.
And the trivia was that one player batted leadoff in both games where they had this much hype about an entering pitcher. The last one was Steven Strasburg when he debuted for the Nationals.
Oh, yeah.
And when he debuted for the Nationals, Kutch batted leadoff for the Pirates, and yesterday, Kutch batted leadoff for the Pirates.
That's pretty crazy. That's very crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of, I guess, the crazy story of the week, what did you think of Austin Rivers' comments that 30 NBA players could step into the NFL today?
I don't see that. I could maybe see 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I couldn't see 30.
No. And I thought Shannon Sharp he went a little bit. James Jones was hilarious. Did you see James Jones' comments?
Mm-mm.
He basically, he talked about, he's like, y'all invented, he's like, you need to make a new rule so you can play 22 games and still be MVP. You flop like crazy, had a better anti-flopping rule. He's like, you invented rest management and you're going to come be tough guys in the NFL? And then he looked in the camera and he's like, JJ Watt. And then JJ Watt added to Doc Rivers' son, to Austin Rivers, he said, well, you don't have a job in either right now, so why don't you come give it a try? Which I thought was awesome.
That's pretty funny.
It's real funny.
Where did Austin Rivers say that?
Pat McAfee. But he said it like, it wasn't just like a fun bar conversation with Pat McAfee. They started sort of sparring a little bit about the athleticism of both sports, and it seemed like both men were pretty heated, like genuinely. And Austin Rivers said it in like an angry, like, I know this is true, like I could bring 30 guys right now. You couldn't do that in the NFL. And as Ryan Clark said, because Austin Rivers is like, all you're doing is running patterns and going in straight lines. He's like, we can do that. And Ryan Clark said, you send somebody 6'6" over the middle, he's like, I'm going to cut him in half. Which is, again, you know. And Shannon Sharp said, look, he's like, yes, you have anomalies. You got your Bo Jacksons and some other people in the world. He's like, but for the most part, he's like, we need to put some respect on everybody's sport. He's like, people aren't hopping sport to sport. And he's like, could you send a couple of NFL, like, could Myles Garrett be like your seventh man off the bench on the Knicks? And you tell him just to go get rebounds and block people out? He probably could. We saw Michael Parsons dunking all over the place, Puka Nacua dunking all over the place. Like, could you send Puka Nacua to harass Jalen Brunson for 10 minutes a game? Probably. I'm not saying he'd get 20 points or even drop 10, but I'm like, if you needed an NFL defensive back to go harass a guard, I think Joey Porter Jr. with those giant long arms could probably, physically stand in front of somebody and make it difficult for them to move. But I sort of like Shannon's.
It's absolutely crazy though. He said that.
Yeah. And again, it'd be one thing if he said it in like a fun way, but it came off very much as like an aggressive, like we're the best athletes in the world in the NBA. And as Shannon said, put some pads on and talked about it, but he's like, in reality, he's like, everybody's sport is unique. And these are the best in the world. He's like, it's silly to think anybody could be moving sport to sport just like that, which is probably true. But it was funny to hear him say it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, J.J. Watt just saying, you don't have a job in either. Come shave to try, big fella, was just fantastic. Yeah. I think other than that, not a lot of movement in the NFL. Everybody's rookies did rookie minicamp, and everybody's rookies are going to be Hall of Famers. So that's exciting. Including our Steelers, obviously.
Including our Steelers.
Yeah, we have 5 Hall of Famers that I went to rookie minicamp. It's pretty great.
Yeah. NBA draft wasn't really the year to win the lottery.
No, and depending on who you talk to, some of the scouts are saying the first pick in this draft is basically like the 7th or 8th pick in another draft. And you feel bad for a team like the Hawks, where it's like, if you had the number 1 pick in a good draft, you could maybe you could trade away Murray and Young, bring in this new guy, build around him, have all these assets, but now you got a pick nobody really wants.
Yeah.
So, but again, I mean, history will probably tell us one of these guys in this draft is going to be a significant contributor. It's going to be a really good all-star player, right?
Yeah, we tell us that. Yeah, we just don't know which one.
Yeah, and it could be pick 20. It could be, a Jokic in round 2, a guy that doesn't look like he should be, or a Giannis who was 6'9" when he was drafted. Like,
yeah,
playing against chairs.
I saw projections where the number 1 pick probably is going to be this big man out of France.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And then the big man from Connecticut will probably be in the top 3.
Well, I think if you're looking at the modern NBA right now, and you've got Jokic, and you've got a 7'6" alien in San Antonio, and you have some, Giannis and these other, like, you need size again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even the small.
You need athletic size.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs are drafting 4 and 8.
As of now, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's some international guards apparently they've been connected to that look like they're, sort of in the good distributor, maybe Ricky Rubio type mold. If I was an NBA player, I'd love to go play with, Wembanyama. Like, that seems like a good guy to hitch my wagon to.
Yeah, I would be all over that.
And that way I don't have to play against him in games, too, and have my shot altered every 30 seconds. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they add to him. They got free agency money. I think if I was a free agent, I would definitely think about what it would be like to play there, play for Pops, play in a basketball crazy market where you're the only pro team in the market.
And
And
no
a lot
state
to be said for
taxes.
that.
Yeah. Throw in no state taxes, and that's a win. And a good Spurs organization that's always just been a, decades now of being a solid organization, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's not a bad place to go.
not at all.
We did have some NFL free agent news. Odell Beckham is now a Dolphin, and Tyler Boyd is a Titan.
Oh, I didn't see the Tyler Boyd thing.
He signed for $5 million for 1 year. So I don't know what happened there. His price went way down. And Odell Beckham also signed a 1 year deal.
Yeah, you knew Beckham was going to sign a 1 year deal. I am surprised about Boyd because I think he's turned down better deals.
I think this, yeah, we know the Steelers offered him a better deal than that.
But you wait now the draft is gone and you have all these picks and you've got to have money for all the picks. So, I mean, he just played the long game too long.
Yeah. And I think we saw both with the Bears with Justin Fields and with some of these free agents now, like, the long game does not seem to, it seems like hit early and take what you can get. Because,
yeah,
especially with the draft, like, there's so many young players coming in. And this, I think there was over 20 wide receivers drafted on the first 2 days of the draft. So, jobs filled up, right?
Yeah, who else signed with the Titans as a receiver, though?
They had D Hop and did they get Zay? No, not Zay Jones. They got somebody else though. Yeah, because now Treylon Burks, their first round pick from 2 years ago, is a Steeler trade candidate apparently. The guy they traded, AJ Brown, got the first round pick and used the first round pick on Treylon Burks, and now they don't think he's it's a new regime there.
He's not AJ Brown, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's not AJ Brown, no. And when they were like, well, he's like a younger AJ Brown, it's like, well, AJ Brown at the time you traded him was 25. So, like, how much younger did you want him to be? I don't know. It's very silly.
Yeah. Will we have a Canadian team in the finals in the NHL?
Yeah.
You think we will?
No, I don't. Someday, maybe. Just not right now.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah.
Well, I got an entertainment moment.
Well, that's good. We need one.
I'm watching Sugar on Apple TV
Okay.
with Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Really, really good. And I'm waiting till next Thursday night to release the final episode.
Okay.
But really, really good. I don't want to give it away, but it's noir, but a different kind of noir.
Okay.
Really worth watching. There's a lot of film from old movies put in it. It's really cool.
Oh.
You would really enjoy it. It's a thinking man's kind of a mystery.
I do enjoy that. I watched Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, we were going to watch that together.
Yeah.
And
it's really, really good. It's awesome. It's got a little bit of a slow burn, right? But once it gets going, you can't take your eyes off the screen. Like a lot of movies, like the very end, you could argue maybe you wouldn't, you could have ended a little sooner and been a little happier. But it was really, really well done. And I think certainly for people of a certain age, like if you grew up, with sort of late night talk shows being a thing, I think this would be much more of you might get a little bit more out of it too.
was it Netflix or Prime?
It was on AMC Plus.
Okay.
Because we signed up for AMC Plus for a month because, we're big horror movie fans in our house, and they had 3 or 4 new ones, and it's like, with Apple or with Amazon, you just sign up for a month, cancel, pay your $8, and you get it all. So it's pretty good.
Okay.
But yeah, it was very enjoyable. I really liked it. And then we watched some other ones that I wouldn't quite recommend, but this was, really well done. And it's done like pseudo documentary style, and then they're just sort of placing this fictional talk show was always the coming in second to Carson's show. and they sort of reference Johnny Carson and where they wore the late night wars, and it's pretty cool. And the price.
Check it out.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. I wish I had a food moment for you. Um,
I had a Gold Belly food moment.
what'd you have?
I ordered Cane's Donuts from Massachusetts.
Okay.
Made since 1954, made famous in the Spencer series by Robert Parker.
Oh, okay.
Outstanding donuts.
And then I guess, yeah, and because we did have some audio issues last week, I'll shout out T-Rex Cookies again, also a Gold Belly, who should be a sponsor on our show at this point. T-Rex Cookies out of Minnesota, awesome. The chocolate ones are just phenomenal. I'm gonna miss them when they're gone.
Oh, and I saw there was more than 3.
Was there?
When I went to the site, I thought it was 5.
Oh, okay. I only knew 3. Huh.
And then today, also plugging Gold Belly.
Why not?
They had a Chicago pizza special.
Okay.
And they had Lou Malnati's, which I think is a really good Chicago pizza.
Yeah.
It's not as thick as some of the other ones, but it's really good.
It is very, very good.
And so it was 2 pizzas for $69 in free shipping, or 6 pizzas for $119 in free shipping.
Damn.
So having a freezer, I bought 6.
Yeah. And I will say, of the Gold Belly pizza, the Chicago deep dish does seem to be the one that it's closest to the actual experience when you heat it up.
Yeah, it transfers well.
It transfers very well, yeah.
There's more, yeah, I think because it's thicker and, it just, you cook it differently. I think that all plays part of it, yeah.
And I think the sauce being on top helps you maintain more sauce, too. So you don't, because sometimes with the reheat pizza, you lose the sauce underneath for whatever reason. But, yeah.
Well, I have one more food moment, and it's local.
Okay.
So there's a pizza place in Wesley Chapel called Fratelli's. And they have a Sicilian pizza that I would say might be the best Sicilian style I've ever had.
Whoa.
Yeah. Very light and airy and crispy. Plenty of cheese. Sauce underneath and on top.
Ooh,
really good.
The double sauce. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It was when you come, we're going to have it because it's really good.
I'm already...
And I saw they were rated, they rated all the pizza places in Wesley Chapel, and they were number 1 at a 4.7.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds very, very good.
Yeah, good pizza. And it's only 2 miles away, 3 miles away.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think by the time we're here next week, these series will all be over, right? And we'll be conference finals?
Yeah, we'll be talking about conference finals. We'll be down to our final 4 teams, which right now, looks like, I'm not saying is like, I'm not predicting, but looks like Minnesota, Dallas, Boston, Indiana. That's what it looks like.
Indiana. That's the crazy one. But yeah, it does look like it. Because again, I just feel like the Knicks have just, somebody compared them to like a counterpuncher in boxer where they've just taken too many shots throughout the season, and it looks like they just might.
They're just so beat up.
So beat up, yeah. And I don't know.
There's no question they're the second best team in the East.
Yeah.
No question. But they just are not going to be able to show that, I don't think. Unless, hey, Willis Reed reenacted it, so we never know.
Yeah, but if OG misses any more time, Mitchell Robinson misses time, and again, people always forget, like, Julius Randle, for all the mutts that, is he's maligned in the New York media, like, he's a good player, And he was a solid rotation player that can score on his own, and he's not on that team. He's out for the year. So, and then I think the other thing to keep an eye on is I'm predicting, this will be my NBA prediction, there's going to be a 3-way trade where Donovan Mitchell ends up in Miami. I don't know where Jimmy Butler ends up. Maybe Philadelphia. And Cleveland ends up with 2 young players and a bunch of picks.
Interesting.
Because I think Mitchell wants out of Cleveland, and I know it seems like Pat Riley's comments made it pretty clear he's done with Butler.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I would prefer to have Donovan Mitchell and Jimmy Butler together, but
yeah. I just think they're going to swap. I mean, they're going to, try to get something else in that deal that, where they can still make some other moves.
yeah.
So until next week.
Have a great week, everybody.